Hey everyone, hello. Welcome to our Sunday weekly warm-up exclusive to YouTube all through the month of May before we take our summer break. But don't worry, we'll be kicking off the show again in August. I can only predict. Thank you for tuning into the Teach Better Team Sunday weekly warm-up. This is a show exclusive for all of you that will stream on all other platforms and become a podcast episode of Teach Better Talk podcast. Eventually tomorrow. But today it's exclusive and we love for you to participate in the comments. We have an amazing guest with us. Brad Hughes is here as the best host ever. I'm so honored to be his assistant co-host. It's the most amazing job ever. We'll be right back. Happy Mother's Day. Hey everyone, we are live exclusive to our YouTube channel. My name is Ray Hewart. I have Brad Hughes here with me, and we have an incredible guest. Brad, are you so excited to feature Kate on this episode of our Sunday Weekly Warm-Up?
Ray, I'm so excited, and I just can't hide it. I'm about to lose control, and I think I like it. Oh, yeah. It's going to be a fantastic night here on the Sunday Weekly Warm-Up, Ray.
Oh, it's going to be so good. Kate, I had the opportunity to interview you on our other show with the Teach Better team, which streams Monday through Friday. It's our Teach Better Today morning show. That will also be happening every single day, Monday through Friday, through the month of May until we take our summer break. And you were a ball to interview. Holy moly, we had a blast.
We sure did. Thank you.
I'm so glad that you're here. Our Sunday show is definitely something special. I'm glad to feature you here. But friends, it is also Mother's Day. So I want to wish a warm, happy Mother's Day to all of you out there, all the women in your life that have supported us in growing into the people that we are. Brad, why don't you start us off? Any exciting plans that you had this weekend that we can celebrate?
Well, we had an opening weekend at our trailer race, so we celebrated Mother's Day right along Lake Huron here in Ontario. Had a wonderful weekend. A bit rainy on Saturday, but it was okay. I mean, we made the very best of it. I connected with my mom, who is in London, Ontario, to make sure I was wishing her a wonderful day. So many impressive and so many meaningful women in my life that that both add to my life, but have also been instrumental in helping me to become the person that I am. And another special mom is with us tonight, Caitlin Lipset.
Yes, Kate, I'm excited to hear about how your Mother's Day was, how your weekend was, and how your Teacher Appreciation Week was. It's never ending. Never ending.
Yeah, it was a good weekend here. We did my Mother's Day yesterday with the boys. We just grabbed a little coffee and then went for a nice scenic drive through a beautiful area in Stratford, Ontario here. And today we went over to my mother's house and we just kind of hung around outside. We brought some treats from a local bakery in town and had a coffee and just hung out, which was nice.
It's the perfect way to do it. I love it. My family was able to travel to my neck of the woods, which is a rarity, but I was so appreciative. And my grandmother came as well. So she was able to see my new home and my mom was here and we just had a ball of good food and good gossip. That's what I consider to be a good weekend. If you have good food, good gossip, and good weather, it's a good weekend, regardless of what's going on.
Now, Ray, am I remembering right that your mom had a birthday on the weekend or celebrated a birthday quite recently?
You have the best memory ever, Brad. Yes, my mother's birthday was Friday, the 10th, and then we were able to celebrate Mother's Day. And my mom is not one to celebrate herself, but she is very much deserving. So we will consider the entire month into June a month of my mother. We are going to get together with my sister over in Columbus, Ohio in early June. And we've decided that will conclude our Mother's Day celebration. So we have many more weeks of lots of celebration of my incredible mother.
Now, Ray, your mom, I think, is an official, unofficial member of our Teach Better team and Teach Better family. What is it about your mom that you and others find so endearing and engaging?
Oh my gosh. Kate and Brad, I cannot wait for the day that you get to sit down and have a cocktail with my mother. This is the problem with her. She falls into so many categories that you admire. And so it's hard to summarize it, right? She's stunning. And if I don't know anyone who makes 61 look better. I have never been so excited for my 60s ever in my life. And holy moly, she is making it look amazing. She's successful. She has an amazing career that she's had in the design industry and the business world. Gosh, if we could ever be as half as accomplished as she is. And she's an incredible family member. She keeps everybody together. So Kate, Brad, I'm sure you know people in your life who just have had an incredible impact, whether they're biologically connected or not. My mom is a role model regardless of what's going on in the world. She's amazing.
100%. And if you're joining us live tonight, or if you're joining us later, hit us up in the comments and let us know about the special people, the special women in your life, whether it's a mom, an aunt, a grandparent, somebody who is important to you that you want to shout out and say, hey, I love you. I appreciate you. And I'm so glad that you're part of our family.
So important. You know, Kate, you have been featured on the show before, but just in case a few of our members here that are tuning in after the fact or tuning in live didn't catch your episode of Teach Better Today morning show, I'd love to have you share a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so my name's Kate. I do have an Instagram account you're welcome to follow me on. I have the great opportunity to work with Brad. He is my principal. So we both work in New Hamburg. I teach a grade 3-4 class. And so I've been kind of in that junior primary stream for about 4 to 5 years now and enjoying it. And my kind of niche, the area that I focus on, is structured literacy, along with, in Ontario, we do learning skills. So how do I pair engaging lessons while mastering learning skills, which are our self-regulation, organization, problem solving, initiative, those types of areas. And then how do I properly assess that for a report card that's meaningful for the student?
Kate, the biggest dilemma we had during our interview Teach Better Today is that you had way too many ideas for educators to implement. I mean, truly, that was our feedback. They were like, wait, this episode was so quick. We need it to be longer, because one of the highlights of what you were able to share in just, 15, 20 minutes was all these different ideas on how to engage your learners. And they were so beyond the cookie cutter ideas. You had really, really good things. And it wasn't just this like idea that you had. It was something you were putting into place every single day with your students. And so a lot of people enjoyed all those ideas. Kate, when you think about your time becoming an educator, is this what you thought you'd be doing? Like, are you doing what you thought, or did this evolve in some way?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm an adult, but a big kid in that way. And so I try to think about what would engage my students and make them excited to come to school. And so I've worked in a lot of schools where it's lower socioeconomic, and a lot of our students struggle. There's a lot of trauma that our students come with. So what's going to get them through the door, and what's going to get them to pop out of bed when their alarm clock wakes and school's ready to go? So I feel like if with that regard, yes, I'm doing what I've wanted to do. And the ideas evolve, right? They evolve and change over time, and you become more sophisticated and add things in that weren't particularly there before, or problems come up and you figure out ways to solve them as time moves forward.
Brad, I know that Kate has a lot that you would celebrate as, I'm sure, a member of her leadership team, but she also has a lot she's prepared for the show tonight as well to help our Teach Better family. Should we transition to our Sunday strategies and have you take the reins and get this conversation going?
I would love that. And I know that Learning with Kate, and you can follow her at Learn with Lipsit. It's going to be a wonderful collection of strategies, inspiration, and excitement right after the break. Hey, Teach Better family, welcome back. You're with Brad Hughes, Ray Hewitt, and Caitlin Lipsett tonight in the Sunday weekly warm-up space. We're streaming exclusively on YouTube in the month of May, and we're hoping that you're joining us live and are getting ready to learn along with Lipsett. Ray and Kate, it's been a wonderful Mother's Day weekend. And Kate, I'm wondering, as you kind of consider kind of the ebbs and flows of maybe a typical weekend leading up to a week of your important work in education, talk with me about some of the ebbs and flows and how you're preparing your mind for the week ahead with your students.
Yeah, that's a good question because this weekend feels a little more scattered than it normally would, right? Because we've celebrated me, which I'm very thankful for, on Saturday, and then my mother today. And my mother-in-law next weekend. So there are more events this weekend that we've had to kind of ebbs and flow with than you normally would. So I think a big part for me, which might sound silly, is food. So I spend a lot of time on the weekend preparing my food for the week. So on Sundays, I make a huge breakfast dish that I can quickly grab from in the mornings. I find that if I don't do that, I'm skipping breakfast, and then nobody wants a hangry teacher, right? So no thanks. So I do that on Sundays, and then I prepare all of the food to make my kids' lunch, my own kids' lunch in the morning. So mornings can be busy and crazy. And so anything that I can do to mitigate the rush and the stress, to ensure that it's easier, they're eating good, I'm eating good. That's a huge part of preparing for the week is food.
I'm wondering how care for your family and knowing that you are helping your entire family move forward and be prepared. Does that help you in terms of your approach to the week, your sense of balance, or your sense of, your sense of relaxation, I guess?
It does. I think every night before I go to bed, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers feel the same way, you go through that mental checklist. Okay, what am I packing for lunch tomorrow? Do I have my outfit ready? And all of those things. So the more that I can sit in bed before Monday, especially, and go, yep, I've got lunch made. Yep, my outfit's hanging on the dresser beside me. The easier it is to fall asleep and then wake up actually ready to go without that Sunday scary butterfly feeling.
Ray, does that butterfly feeling come up for you, regardless of whether it's a Sunday night to getting ready for the weekly warm up or getting ready for a Monday full of meetings and connections, maybe?
I think the Sunday scaries that we don't like to admit exist in many of us, whether it's I have to fall asleep because I have a big week ahead, or I hope I have everything set for 7 a.m. tomorrow. The Sunday scaries exist. And I really do feel like the Sunday scaries have a bad rep because it's something that has a negative connotation. But the reality is, Kate, I love that you are leaning into being over prepared. I think that's a great reminder for May. Don't skip out on preparing yourself for the weekend and getting ready for the week ahead. It really helps us out not only with our own mental state, but with the mental state of those around us as well.
Kate, are there thoughts that keep you awake at night or will actually wake you from sleep as you anticipate a Monday morning or a week ahead in learning?
Oh, yes. I think we all have that. And I think a lot of it comes down to, in particular, what's going on in your classroom, right? There are certain students that you think about at night in terms of, okay, how can I really engage that student, or how can I help them out on the yard this week, or what might it be? So a silly strategy that I use is I text myself stuff all the time. I might send myself an email, or I might text myself a list of things that I'm thinking about. So if I'm laying there at night, I will often send myself a message saying, do this, do this, do this, do this, with all of my ideas, so that I can kind of release those thoughts and then focus back to sleep or whatever it was I was trying to do.
But
Ray, go ahead.
Writing it down is such a help. If you are trying to still figure out your Sunday routine, I love the mindset of keeping Post-its or to-do lists or something next to your bed. Get it off of your mind. You will deal with it in the morning. That's a great step.
Yeah.
Kate, do you have any routines or traditions that help you kind of drift off, especially if your mind has been working overtime to have your family and yourself prepared and your students as well?
Yeah, there's a couple of things in particular. So one of which is in February, I started a new routine of waking up every morning at 5:15 in the morning. And so that was dual purpose. One, my husband leaves extremely early for work, so we never get that time to connect. So that was an opportunity for us to connect without any children needing our attention. And then the other piece of that was in February was our report card writing time. So I would wake up every morning at 5:15 and I would write one learning skill every morning. And so I found that extremely helpful because when I came home and was ready to go to bed for that night, I wasn't worried about that huge learning skill portion for that one child in particular. So I would start writing those every morning. And then by the time the deadline rolled around, I had already accomplished everything without sitting down in one big chunk and feeling mentally exhausted and maybe not writing the best product as possible. So it was more spaced out. Now that we're not writing report cards, I use that time in the morning to do some stretching, go over my to-do list, and have a hot coffee in peace and quiet.
And Kate, there's I think part of your special routine is maybe picking up a local hot coffee at Mimi's Cafe. I know that's a really good spot for you.
Yes, I do go there quite often.
And Ray, you've got a favorite coffee spot, and I know that's part of your sort of daily and weekly routine. Sometimes even taking your work to the coffee shop and just kind of being surrounded by others coming and going is one of your favorite spots.
I think anytime an educator can dedicate some serious time to a hot coffee sip is great. And I love that, Kate, you're using your mornings to be able to accomplish that. I would challenge any educator, whether it's the morning, using your time more efficiently and effectively, whatever it is. I love the goal of a nice warm cup of coffee, connections with those that we love, and an opportunity to support our students even better. Kate, I couldn't think of a better descriptor of how to use your morning, to be honest.
It's great. And it kind of goes hand in hand with bedtime, right? I am that much more tired by the time bedtime rolls around because I have now been up, 1 hour longer than I typically would have, right? And if I'm still having a hard time, I will often meditate through an app that I use at nighttime, and that will definitely help, calm the nerves or whatever the feeling might be.
Hey, Kate, I'm using Calm, and I've also used Headspace. Are you using either one of those apps?
I actually use the Peloton app because the exercising component and then the mindful component as well.
And Ray, I'm wondering, one of our Teach Better friends, Epec Williamson, has the, I'm trying to think of the name of the app that she recommends. I'm not sure if you
I
can
know,
help.
I have it right here. Insight Timer.
That's it. InsightTimer.com. So
that's a great one. Friends, that's free for educators and free for those who are using meditation a number of ways. I love using Insight Timer as a way to use meditation in the classroom or just an opportunity to calm your students. There's everywhere from 30-second meditations and calming moments to 30-minute. It's I usually use a 3-minute one. So highly recommend if you're an educator trying to bring meditation or calming practice into your classroom, Insight Timer is a great free place to use those tools.
Kate, something I know and recognize and really value about your classroom is the sense of organization, the sense of purposeful learning. And so, for example, every time in the morning when I'm checking in and saying good morning to you, there is consistently sort of a bell ringer or sort of a wake up the mind activity. It could be creative, it could be reflective, but does that bring a sense of calm, even though it's active, to your class and your students?
Yeah, I think the more routine driven your practice is, the more sense of calm there is for students, right? They know exactly what to expect when they see, U-Fly or Haggerty or phonics up on your board. And I think that that's a huge component of our room. Kids know that when they walk in on Monday, there's going to be some kind of mindful component to start our week. And Tuesday is the Tinker Tuesday. So it's the creative, the fun, right? And Wednesday is where we get into some kind of deep discussions about what's going on in the world and so on. So I think that helps for sure. And it creates kind of that buzz and excitement at the door.
Something I know that you're committed to is finding ways to surprise, connect with, and delight your kids. And what I'm wondering about, even at this stage in your career as an educator, in my stage, I find that kids continue to surprise and delight me. And so I'm influenced by my time with them as much as maybe they are with me. What are you finding is surprising and delightful to you about the students that you're serving right now?
Oh man, there's so many things. I think the growth is really cool because when you get a grade 3-4 class, right, you have grade 2s kind of coming in September, right? And now those grade twos have flourished in grade 3 and they're almost in grade 4. And I think the progress that these kids have made in terms of problem solving, which I'm seeing dramatically in our Tinker Tuesday activities, has been astonishing. And then I think their ability to connect with one another has grown quite a bit this year, to rely on each other to solve small problems. And yeah, I would say that those are two distinct areas.
And Ray, as you hear Caitlin reflect on a year of learning with her 3rd and 4th grade class, and I know that you're in touch with many educators, both through Teach Better and through some live and in-person learning, where are educators finding the joy and where are they finding the growth that Caitlin's talking about in your experience?
I think there's so many different elements of education that bring educators a sense of passion. And the growth really does seem to be consistent between many educators. They want to see their students growing and loving the art of learning. And I think that May is such a beautiful time because educators get to experiment a little bit without feeling the pressure that comes with other times of the year with testing and getting through content and everything else. So I do think that when I think about educators' passions for learning and what they're doing right now, it really comes down to maybe being a little bit more risky during the month of May and June than maybe they have been being slightly more rigid in the classroom. Kate, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that sometimes as educators, we need to let go of that thought of rigid and the checklist and all the little expectations that we are supposed to get through. And I think sometimes we have to think about the big ideas and what learning skills and what practical learning opportunities can we give these kids to engage them in real life, especially as here in Ontario, we enter May, June, our last 2 months of school. We have to think about how am I going to engage and excite these kids, especially with regards to hands-on learning. That can sometimes be daunting if it's a, really big writing task or reading task, right? Let's still do those, but then let's give our kids an opportunity to have that creativity involved and match that as well. So I think sometimes we need to take the pressure off of ourselves and just really relish what our students are good at and just dive into it and see where it takes us.
Kate, we have so many different things that educators in our community will ask questions about, and especially after they listen to this episode, whether they catch it live on YouTube or they're catching it after the fact on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, or LinkedIn. Maybe they're catching this as a bonus episode of Teach Better Talk podcast. So many of them are going to be thinking through, how can I apply this to my classroom this week? If you had to reflect and maybe give a small piece of advice, maybe a challenge to our Teach Better community of listeners here, how do you surprise your students this week? How do you maybe add a little flair to what is already possibly planned for the week ahead?
Yeah, so I think this week the weather is looking quite nice here in our area. So we're going to do a couple more organized body breaks outside. And by that, I mean, I will run a game of low organization with them to kind of give them a different opportunity to work with different people or be silly. And then I think another part is kind of as we get towards the end of our year is that I become a little bit more silly. We have a financial literacy unit coming up right now where students have to do all these tasks and earn money. And then they check in with the banker. And at the end, they use all their money to purchase ice cream for themselves, right? So I don't know, chocolate ice cream is $2 and a cone is $1 and things like that. But in the meanwhile, like when I'm the banker, I will be dressed up like a very old banker. And so just that like little piece of something small that I can do that creates excitement and makes them laugh a little bit.
Hey, Kate, I want to know if it's okay with you if I dress up like an ice cream parlor ice cream scooper. I'm thinking with the paper hat and the red and white candy stripe apron, maybe, and I'll polish up my ice cream scoop and maybe I can join in.
I think that'd be great. Maybe from like the outside window, right? Like we could tag team that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I specialize in drive-through. I can take the order right at the window.
Perfect. I love this. I love this. Friends, we usually wrap up our Sunday show with a Sunday Spark. But before we do that, Kate, I do want to make sure our community here is able to stay connected to you. Before we transition to our Sunday Spark, Do you mind sharing a little bit about your Instagram and where people here can follow you?
Yeah, so my Instagram link is right there. So it's at Learn with Lipsit. And so I typically post that morning routine that we were talking about earlier. So the Mindful Monday, Tuesday, that kind of thing. And then lately I've been posting a little bit more about what I'm doing in my structured literacy, because it is a primary/junior divisional, cross grade divisional. So I do post a little bit about what that looks like within our classroom, and then a little bit about how I stay motivated and keep surprising and delighting students.
Kate, I always love when you tag me in different stories and posts you have. Friends, if you are not following Kate, this is absolutely something you want to do. She's an incredible educator. All of the stories that I've ever seen you share are something that I can take right away and use in the classroom. And I love that type of approach. It's a very actionable, loving approach to education, and definitely a follow I couldn't recommend more. Brad, I know we're going to transition to our Sunday Spark. Any last thoughts before we transition into our Sunday Spark for the night?
Just how grateful I am to continue to learn with Lipsit each and every day, and learning tonight. And I've got a challenge for the two of you after the break, so I hope you're ready.
Ooh, a challenge. Kate, I'm ready for it. I'm going to get mentally ready. We'll be right back. Friends, thank you for sticking with us on our Sunday weekly warm-up. For those of you who are not connected to Teach Better Team, please feel free to follow the Teach Better Team on YouTube or any social media that you enjoy the most. The team loves to share out free resources, great shows, different interviews, and so much. So please make sure you stay connected to us, as well as on our email list, which you can access over at teachbetter.com. Brad, I love our Sunday Spark. This is usually such a bright light in our Sunday to start off the week. Not only something that brings us joy, but possibly on occasion, even something we can bring to our students as a discussion. What do you have for us this week?
I have not one, not two, but three potential Sunday Spark stories. It was an incredible week in good, inspiring news. So I'm going to give you three clues, Ray and Kate. I'd like you to decide between which of the three stories you'd like to follow up. I'll make sure I post all of them to our YouTube links and on our different socials. But the first story I'm going to call Going to the Dogs. Going to the Dogs. Second is, this story really sucks. This story really sucks. And the third one is, why did the cougar cross the road? Why did the cougar cross the road? So what do you think? Going to the Dogs, this story sucks, or why did the cougar cross the road?
Kate, I'm gonna go like one or two. What are you at?
Yeah,
One?
I was thinking one. Yeah.
Are you a dog lover? Is that where this comes from? Are you a dog lover?
I'm just more curious. I do love dogs, don't get me wrong, but I'm very curious.
I have had I think the dog's the winner for this week, unfortunately, Brad. Where are we at?
This is coming to us from goodnewsnetwork.org, Kate and Ray. And as you can see on screen, and I'll post the link, dogs are making the difference for a group of elementary school students in Michigan. And the headline reads, dogs placed in elementary schools making a big difference in academics and mental health for Michigan students. On the screen is a picture of one of the service dogs that is present in several elementary schools in Michigan, and they're employed as full-time happiness ambassadors. And the story says it is positively working. Students are seeing a big difference in their academics, as well as a big difference in lowering student stress. Research shows the presence of a trained dog fosters positive attitude towards learning and helps to smooth interactions between classmates. Countering stress and depression in Michigan schools is the goal of this service dog, classroom dog program, making a difference for individuals in terms of their emotional regulation, their confidence, reduction in stress, and also a positive attitude towards their studies. This program made possible by Canines for Change, founded in 2005 by Dr. Nikki Brown, a school district in the Lansing School District in Michigan. Kate and Ray, service dogs making a difference in our elementary schools. And I wonder what's sticking with you as you review that story.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that, Brad, because my class, we on our one of our Worldly Wednesdays had read a very similar article, and I think you had came in and the students had asked if they could bring all sorts of emotional support animals to school. But I can see how that would be a positive impact for students.
I love the idea of bringing animals into student lives more frequently. And I love that we're focusing on the positive impact that it can have. We see that everywhere. I do have to say, these are animals that are trained, vetted, and appropriate for this work. And I love to see that. I think that it's such a blessing that we get to expose our students to the different types of stress relief efforts that they can go through. And I have a dog that would sign up in a heartbeat. Alfred is one of my dogs with it would be his dream to visit schools or hospitals for a living. I think that he has no idea how large he is, and he just very much wants to go up and be pet by every single human on the planet. So I think it's wonderful, and I would love to hear from our community if you have any service dogs or therapy dogs that come into your building. I know it's becoming increasingly more popular. We'd love to hear about your school as well.
I had the opportunity to be principal for a colleague who one part of her family life was fostering future guide dogs. So she would welcome prospective guide dog puppies into her home, and she would focus on the love, care, but also the socialization that these prospective guide dogs would need to cope with the pressures and demands of, uh, of caring for or coming alongside an owner, someone who would need them either for mobility or for service, and had the opportunity to welcome those guide dog puppies into our school and classrooms. And so we looked at what the district policies were on animals in our classrooms and school. And frequently, you'd go into the classroom, and the puppy would be curled up on the carpet or receiving some love from my colleague or from the kids, and it was just such a welcome addition to our school community. And it makes me really eager to find out more about how service dogs and other animals that community can love can be part of our schools, especially based on that story from the Lansing School District.
Sure. I would love to challenge our community here. Think of different ways that you can expose your students to not only stress relief, but also expose them to activities or experiences that they may not be able to experience at home. Some families are not able to have animals at home. They're not able to have a calming environment in certain places. These are such wonderful ways for us to have an impact on our students that are not content related. But beautiful story, Brad. Thank you so much for bringing that in. And Kate, this has been such a fun conversation. I'm so glad you were able to join our Sunday weekly warm up.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
It's always a joy to have you. And I have no idea what's in store for this show after the month of May because we will take a summer break. But I would love to bring you in for whatever show we decide to launch next fall, because I love hearing your ideas. And for anyone here listening, if you didn't hear her episode on the Today Show, you definitely go back. She shares so much about her classroom, and I feel like we got just a taste of it today.
Well, thank you so much.
Brad, thanks so much for being a part of the show as well. Every single Sunday, we got 2 more Sundays left. Is that it?
I think that's about it. And then there's a summer break for us. And part of that, as you mentioned, Ray, is us reflecting on a year of the Sunday weekly warm up and finding out how we can continue to serve and connect with our Teach Better friends and audience on a weekly or a bi-weekly or monthly basis, whatever it is. But we'll have exciting and wonderful things in store for the fall season as well.
If you have any thoughts on how we can better your experience as an educator by providing you free tools and interviews, please let us know. And for everyone else, we hope you have an amazing rest of your Sunday. Have an incredible week ahead. We'll see you tomorrow on the Today Show, but we'll see you next week for the Sunday Weekly Warm Up. Bye, guys.